Okay, I want to do this tutorial a little bit better than I did last time. It's a time-lapse tutorial, but this time I'm going to do it with raw files. So this is a sample frame from a tutorial from the Mini Takes Estates job I just finished. And this was shot by Jeff Lewis out of LA. Great photographer, love his work. It's the kind of guy where you just start looking at frames and you're like, yeah, let me see another. Yeah, let me see another. To me, that's a real photographer. So anyway, here's a frame. He mounted a 5D3 on the outside of a Mini with a emblem on it, a badge on it, and they drove around town with a long shutter speed to get the streaks just the way he liked it. So anyway, here we go. I'm going to close this. Basically, what I did is I put all the images for this time lapse in one folder. Now here you can see I've already processed this once, so you get this XMP file. So if here's the folder full of images, and it's 144 images. It's not very long, probably too short. But anyway, this XMP file is the data that the raw encoder reads in order to make it pretty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just stick that on the desktop for now. I'll probably just end up throwing it away. Ooh, it copied it to the desktop, so I'll delete it from this RAID. Okay, so now I have a folder full of images, and basically what I do is when I go through the camera footage is I'll separate them out and go, oh, here's the next time lapse, and I colorize them, and that's why these are all blue. So then I come over here to the After Effects, and I'm going to come into basically my media subfolder. I'll make a new folder, and I'll call it TL for time lapse, and I'll call it exterior door. How's that? Or actually, it should probably be night door, because I wouldn't shoot a time lapse. He wouldn't shoot a time lapse inside. Okay, and I could give it a date or whatever. But at this point, what I do is I do Command I. Or, let's see if I can find it up here. I can never find these things in the menu. Import file, okay? And here it is. Here's the folder. I select the first one, and you notice that down here, so here's my preview, not the frame I was showing you earlier. But here it says camera raw sequence. Very cool. Or as my friend Gordon would say, very powerful. So I'm going to hit open, and then what it does is it says, oh, there's a missing frame. Who knows why that happened, but basically what you're going to get is it's going to replace a frame of color bars in the middle of that, and who knows? I don't know why. Maybe it was me, maybe it was him, maybe it had something to do with the file transfers at one point or another. So I'm going to just, ignore that. Not a good demo. And here's my raw importer. Now the one thing I haven't figured out how to do, and maybe somebody else will, is I don't know how to preview the raw importer on anything but the first frame. If somebody knows how to do that, let me know, because that would be way cool. So at this point, you have all of the raw image settings. So I might cool this down a little bit because I just think that looks kind of nice. And you know what? I'll be the first to admit I'm not an expert in the whole raw processing, but it's cool that you have access to all these things. Change exposure. I don't want to do that too much. I do know that, here's your histogram. You don't want anything piled up against the left. You don't want anything piled up against the right. Now this bright light here, that's going to be pretty white. One of the things that I just am a sucker for a good vignette, so I come over here to the vignetter and I just pull that down a little bit. Not too much because I don't want to miss the logo here. Okay, so once I do that, I click OK, and now I have, I'm missing a frame. Now I have the image sequence right here, and if I step back out to the Finder, you notice that now I have a new XMP file there. It was made today at 8:30. So at this point, this is ready to turn into a video clip. Now the problem is the 5D3 shoots these ginormous files. You see that 57, 60, and I'm only doing HD. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up into my comps folder. I'm going to make a new comp, 1920 by 1080. Yup. I'm going to make this 2398 because that's the way we did everything else in the piece. Now it's going to default to some wrong TRT, and actually if I had checked this, actually let's do that. So I canceled that. Interpreting at 30 frames per second, it would be 4 seconds and 22 frames. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reinterpret this to 23.98. I wonder if that's close enough. Probably should do 975 or whatever it is. Okay. 523. Then I come up here and say new composition, and I want to make this 523. That's all you have to type. Okay. Now I have a comp that's 5 seconds and 23 frames long. It's 1920 by 1080 right there. And now I just take this guy and drop it in. Now, you'll notice when I do, it takes a little bit of time to read this out. You notice the framing is much different. The reason it's much different is if I zoom out, look how big, that's my HD frame, and that's how big the 5D3 files are. So that's pretty big. Come up here, I can either twirl this guy down into transform scale, or if I was a professional, I'd just hit the letter S for scale. Come over here, scale this thing down, get it about where I want it. Now I can zoom in here. I can reframe this up a little to get more of the badge. And you can always step forward and preview how this is going to go. Actually, I think they did reframe it after that first frame. So yeah, see, that looks pretty awesome. Might frame that a little more over there. And the beauty of this is because the image is so big, I can totally like do cool stuff with this. Like let's say I want to say, okay, like a second into it, I want to be at this scale and P for position, this position, right? But let's say I go back 10 frames, and at this point, if I hit the letter U, I'll get all of the active keyframes. At this point, maybe I want to be zoomed in and framed over like this, and then maybe I want to right-click on these guys, ease in, right-click on these guys, ease out. And when I do that, it'll snap out. Actually, if we want it to snap, it should probably be more like if I hold down the Option key and the right arrow, I can push that faster. So this is just going to go. It's going to hit that black spot, and it's going to snap out, and we're going to have our new image. Okay, at this point, I'm going to render this, and then I am going to show you the final thing. So I'm going to hit Command Option M to render it out as a ProRes with no audio. Oh, I don't want to call it Comp1. That's totally lame. What I want to do is I want to copy this name, copy, put this on the comp, paste. See, makes more sense. And as soon as I tab that, that'll go down there. I'm going to put that in my Anim Renders folder, and I'm going to call this 00 so I find it at the top of the list. Hit save, hit render. This will take a little while, but I will come back and show you the final product because I have been told you have to do that in a tutorial. Okay, so my render's done, and here's my Anim Renders folder. Now I've rendered a lot of things for this project, and I did something that I normally don't do. I renamed the document. I renamed the export file from the composition name. And I really don't like to do that. I really only did that for this tutorial, really only so I'd be able to find it at the top of my list here. But if you think about it, by naming things exactly what you're going to render it, when you want to make a change to that, you'll always know what comp to go to. So that's a little bozo no-no I did, but do as I do, not as I say. And then here is my file, and if I open this guy up, we'll be able to watch it and kind of critique it here. So it's obviously too tight now, but we know that at like 20 frames into it, we're going to do that snap zoom. So there it goes, boom. And that's kind of into the parking space. Oh, there's that. We saw the the color bar frame. Can we find that easily? I don't want to waste time. There it is. So who knows why there was a missing frame there. You know, we could pull that up and we'd never even see the issue with it. But anyway, that's what you can do with a big frame that's a raw image and do cool stuff with it. Anyway, time-lapsing with raw images. Later.